Welcome to Arcare. It's lovely to see you each week, and we're possibly expecting a few more this morning, and it's certainly from other aged care centres we often have, but Arcare, it's always lovely to see you each week. Thank you very much for joining us today. Welcome to today's Thursday Lunch Club. The next series of 3 are really about how to do the best for yourselves. So today there's going to be a focus on simple tips to do to make your home look stunning. Next week, and I'll come back to it at the end, but next week we've got about how to find the best bargains or savings online, and we've got the head honcho of finder.com will be speaking to us. And the following week we've got from the information security manager from Commonwealth Bank will be speaking to us about cybersecurity. Could you be the next victim? So we've got a series of 3 that I think are really important for you to join in. It's not just hearing about people's fascinating lives, but things that you can do for yourselves. And today, things that you can do for yourselves at home. Marshall, just when I'm introducing him, he disappears. So Marshall, welcome. It's lovely to have you join us today. Marshall from Hocking Stewart Bell Property, but also Marshall, I hear rumour that you've also got a bit of a singing voice. Is that true?
Well, a little bit of a singing voice, but my greatest passion is the saxophone, tenor saxophone.
Sax. So you're a sax player, and you've got a little group together who play with you. And what's the name of your group?
We're called the Bornstein Ultimatum.
Very good.
The Bornstein Ultimatum. Play with David Bornstein. He's a GP, Toorak Medical Centre.
Yes.
Get some money from him for that plug.
Yeah.
And just said, it's just a hobby band. It's a bit of fun. It's great fun. I love it. It's a good passion. It's good to have a release for sure.
Great. And do you get paid gigs, or it's mainly just having a good time to jam session together?
We have been getting paid a little bit, but you couldn't retire on it. But it's more about the music than the money. That's for sure.
Right. But now we're going to tap into about 30 years of experience in real estate. And I've been watching the TV a lot lately because, of course, there's nothing to do other than watch Netflix the last 6 months.
Yeah.
That would be strange because I actually don't. But anyway, there are lots of home improvement shows and so on. I've seen some places look really stunning.
Yeah.
Do you have to basically sell your home and buy a new one, or can you actually do something yourself? And I'll hand over to you to tell us a bit about how to make your home look stunning.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people go through the whole cycle that should we get a new home, and they'll look around. But, the costs associated with buying a new home or trading down, they're very expensive. The stamp duty, is about 5%. And then you've got agents' fees and advertising, which all adds up. So, sometimes, you can go through that cycle and then realise, well, you know what? Our house is actually a pretty good home. Maybe we just need to give it a bit of a facelift, give it a bit of a cuddle, and get it back in shape.
Right.
So that's kind of, a good place to look at, because, you might find that, a good cosmetic update, be it painting or home improvements or whatever, is going to be a very cost-effective way to enjoy the home that you're in. And, if you've been there for a while, you love it. So, it's not that you don't like the home. Sometimes, we like to get something that's nice and new and shiny. So, I guess today's about, looking at ways to bring that vigor back into your place of living, so you can, really enjoy it. It can give you a nice new fresh lease on life too, I think. It give you a bit of a lift.
Right.
So we've got a bit of a slideshow, so we might jump onto that, and that can, perhaps give me and others a bit of an idea to where to start. And I guess if anyone wants a copy of this, Ronnie can send it too. So one thing for sure is that, we often, not everyone, but some people will start a project and they won't finish it. So, they might start doing something and then it gets a bit too hard and they don't finish it. So I think one of the great ways, if you do start a project, finish it through. And I think sometimes one of the best things to do is to have a list. I mean, I've got my little notebook that I take with me, and I like writing things down. So, you know, if I'm out and about and I'm at someone's house and I see a good idea, I might write it down and go, oh, gee, you know, that would look good in my house. I might just jot that down. Or if you're at a friend's house or even an open for inspection, you see something good or a colour you like, take a photo of it on your phone, and then you can remember it for later on. But I think it's good to, you know, have a list of things that need doing, and then you can tick them off as you go. And I think sometimes we can take on things that are too much. They're out of our scope. You know, we all think we're pretty capable. I mean, you know, I do, and you know, I'll be the first to admit, and it might take a few years to learn this. But, you know, I remember buying a shed from Bunnings that I was going to put in the backyard. And I bought it on a Sunday afternoon. I thought, I'm going to erect it and have it set up and so on. I got home, I unpacked the whole thing, and I looked at it, and there were so many pieces. I thought, this is not for Marshall Rushford. So I put it all back in a box, drove it back to Bunnings and paid them $50 to repack it, got my money back, and then called a company to have it set up. So I think it's good to know your limitations as well. But there are certain things that you can organise yourself by getting other people to do it. And I think another good thing to do is to do jobs as they need doing, rather than, you know, wait until there's so many things and you don't know where to start. Does that make sense, Ronnie?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So is it a minor repair? Is it a major repair? You know, the major repairs, you know, like the plumbing and electricity and so on, they should be attended to as you go through, as they present themselves, because, you know, there's nothing worse than all of a sudden, you know, you might think of, oh, you know what, I think I'd like to sell my home. And then, you know, someone comes around to take a look at it, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, it's going to take you months to get the house ready. So I don't know that it's a good idea to have your house ready for sale, you know, next week. But if you keep in the back of your mind, you know, keep going, I think you'll feel great about it as well. And, you know, we all love the fact that, you know, we've got a project that we finished, we can tick it off, and we can feel good about it. You know, I think it's a nice feeling. I've just popped in a little photo there of you know, how the colour of a home can make quite a big difference. You look at these two properties, they're actually the same home. And two things there, the colouring there of the window frames on the after photo, they've got some definition, some darkness, whereas on the top they're white and blended through, so it doesn't have that definition. And the bottom photo actually makes the home look a little bit bigger. Then you look at the garden. Now, the garden is one of the first things that people see when they're looking at a home. And when you come home from, you know, being out and about, when finally, you know, Dan's let us off the leash now, we can get out of the house, we can go and do things and come back. It's such a pleasing feeling, and I'd love to spend more time in the garden if I had, but such a pleasing feeling to come home, you look at your house, and it looks great from the front door. You feel great about going in, I reckon. Don't you reckon, Ronnie?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah, so I think repairs and home projects, have a list, prioritise. Let's go to the next slide, see what else we can take a look at, see if there's something else there. Considering a paint job, which I touched on, there's another photo of before and after. You know, a new paint job to a home can really give it a huge lift. And I think, you know, one of the good things to do is to start with, you know, to get a stylist around, to get someone that, you know, is aware of the current trends and the current colours, to have a look at your home. Because, you know, I mean, Sharon and I, we did this just recently, and I see a lot of homes and I've got a lot of ideas, but you know what, we're all a little bit blind as to how our home looks to fresh eyes. So I think, you know, if you are thinking of doing a cosmetic update or changing the colours or a bit of an update, rather than just getting a tradesperson and say, I want to get a new bathroom. And I'm selling a home at the moment for someone, and the house is unbelievable. You know, the bathroom is the best part of the home, but had they looked after the home over years, rather than spending, you know, $60,000 or $70,000 on a new bathroom, the whole home would be in much better condition. So I think it's good to prioritise and do things as you go. So,
yeah, but Marshall, do colours date? Are there certain colours that are in vogue now, and in 10 years' time I'll never be able to sell the home?
Yeah, good idea. Great idea. You know, is another example for you. You've got a client at the moment, and it's an investment property, and they bought it. And one of the walls inside the home was a feature wall painted red.
Oh,
Now that's kind of polarizing for some people.
yes.
It's a little bit dated, you know. So the colours, they do date, and you know, looking at these two homes on that screen there, one's grey, one's white. That bluey sort of grey, that was kind of popular, I think, back in the early 90s. That was really quite trendy and quite in. Nowadays, it looks a bit dated. If you're going for a darker colour, you'd go for a darker sort of cobalt grey. But you know, the lighter colours, you've hit it on the head, Ronnie. The lighter colours, neutral tones are the safest. Right. And they're less offensive for people. So if you are sort of thinking maybe, you know, I might want to be selling in a year or two or whatever, you know, and painting can be quite expensive and quite a big job. Do something that's going to be appealing for the majority of people. If you want to have like a feature wall, a particular colour, great, because that can easily be painted over without too much fuss later on down the track. So that's that slide. Should we take a look at the next one, Ronnie? Okay. Floors and windows, particularly like if your home has an orientation on one side to the west or to the north, it's going to get a lot of weather. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it takes its toll. And, you know, we're all busy, and we come home and we do stuff, we have dinner, and then we go out and we meet with friends, which is fantastic. And we forget about, you know, certain things like window frames and so on. So when you do have time and you walk around, you go, wow, if you haven't done it for a couple of years, you'll be surprised at the wear and tear on the weather side of the home. And that's the side that gets most of the rain and the wind. So look after your windows. And, you know, sometimes the window frames start to rot a bit. It's good to fix them up. And the glass in the windows, there might be a little crack in some of the glasses. And from a security point of view, if you've got children or grandchildren, you want to attend to those things as they happen rather than letting them go. So repair the minor cracks and damages, and floors and so on. You know, if you've got squeaky floors, you know, they can be remedied quite easily. All right. And the last comment I've got there, you know, on that screen is remember your home is your most valuable asset for you and your family. So, you know, look after it. You know, it's you know, look after it, and it will reward you as well, not only with giving you a beautiful, wonderful environment to live and enjoy and have friends and family over, you know, for dinner, for Shabbos, and you know, just for yourselves enjoying in your environment. You know, it is an asset that one day when you do decide to move it on, if it's looked after and well looked after, irrespective of the age of the home, you'll be rewarded very well. Marshall,
aren't Adam and Sarah your most valuable assets?
Absolutely. That's why I said one of your most valuable.
Very good.
You got me good, Ronnie. You got me good. Yeah, chas v'chalala.
That's right.
Yes, it's just bricks and mortar. They come and they go.
Yeah.
Spring clean and declutter. It's a good, cost-effective way to improve your home. But you know what? Spring and spring is like Yontif. It happens every year, Ronnie. So don't wait 5 years to do your spring cleaning.
Right.
Attend to it. You know, when you can, you know, do bits and pieces. Like, you know, now, Gary, your study, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Should we highlight Gary's?
Can we have a look at Gary?
We certainly can. Let's have a quick look, Gary. We love you, mate. Let's just stop a screen share for one moment while we have scroll through and then find Gary. Sue, don't laugh. We might pick on anyone. But I'm trying to find Gary at the moment. There we go. And there's Gary. And if we have a look now, that's what we're talking about. Lots and lots of books there.
That's a busy study. That's an active study. And we work at home. So you can't expect your home to be a showcase, you know, every day of the week. It's ridiculous. You know, we're living there 24/7. But I love it. I love it. You know, you look at my room. Here's me. Look, you know, I can't talk. This is my music room. Look at it. It's a bit of a mess. It's got bits and pieces all over the place. This is the way we live. But you know what? Every now and again, it's good to go through and to box things and to pack things and so on. So anyway, that's just a comment. So perhaps back to the that screen. Okay, now there's a couple of good examples of decluttering there. You can see the before and after shots there. You know, it is hard if you've got, you know, when you've got young kids that play, it's just a survival game, isn't it, really, just getting through it. But, you know, when the kids move out and stuff, you know, I mean, I have a look at homes and I love it. I go there and you know what the kids do? If you've got older kids, I bet you this is happening at your home. They've got stuff there that they left when they moved out 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it's probably sitting in one of the rooms of the home. And, you know, you're wondering, well, geez, when are they going to come and pick it up? Well, perhaps, you know, perhaps now's a good time to start sort of getting those little bits and pieces sorted out. Not for any other reason than, you know, you'll feel great about it. And it's a great way to add value to your home without actually costing you any money. And I think that's a pretty good thing, and it gives you a nice fresh feel. Another thing, you know, getting rid of stuff. You know, we had a bit of a declutter here at the Rushfords because we were doing up my music room, even though it doesn't look like it's been done up. But we got rid of stuff, and the kids know how to get rid of it, you know. Get them engaged in the idea, and, you know, they'll take photos, they'll put it on Craigslist, on Facebook Marketplace. The kids love that. You know, Melbourne Jewish Craigslist. I didn't realise there was a Melbourne Jewish Craigslist, but that's a great idea as well. You know, and, you know, as they say, what is it, Ronnie? One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yes. And our, Marshall, if I might interrupt, I'll just say in our home, we're doing a bit of cleanup. Anything that doesn't move, my wife is getting rid of. In fact, she put me out on the nature strip for 2 days until someone felt sorry for me.
Let me ask you this, Ronnie, and others can nod in sympathy. In relationships, in couples, I find that one person is the collector and the other person is the get rid of her. Is that right in your home, Ronnie?
Yeah, it certainly is. It is true. I've been collecting stuff for a long time. I've still got some of my Scopus students' marks from 1982 and that sort of stuff. It's about time to get rid of that stuff.
It's hard to get rid of, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
And in a relationship, you can actually, you got to watch the friction, because I know, you know, I'm a bit of a get rid of a sort of guy, and you know, Sharon likes to collect things and retain them, so you've got to be respectful of that as well. So yeah, so, you know, I think, you know, if we're all here now still in committed relationships, then we're probably dealing with that day in, day out. We know how that works for sure. Do you reckon? Yeah. So, what else we got? How about the next screen?
Sure.
Styling. I talked about, you know, if you're not really sure where to start, a really great way to start is to get in an expert. So, you know, rather than getting someone in that you know, wants to sell you something, and you know, no one really likes that. It's good to get someone that you can sort of pay on an hourly basis. And we had someone come in, and she was terrific. You know, she was here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And she went around and said, you know, what about this, this, and this? And I hadn't thought of some of the things that she suggested. And I had my little notebook, and I made a list about things that I'd like to do, things that need doing, there's need and like, you know, our daughter would love for us to get all new furniture, but realistically, it's not on the financial agenda at the current point. So, you know, work out your priorities, work out what the best things to do are. And getting in a stylist is great. You pay them on an hourly basis. Even if they're there for an hour and a half, you'll get some invaluable tips and a great place to start. And, you know, when we go around to selling a home that's been styled and presented, and, you know, maybe get some styling furniture in, we always see a much greater increase in value. And it's always hard to quantify, but I will say for sure that the engagement of buyers, and when you watch the TV shows like The Block, you know, like Home Renovation and all these shows, they talk about engagement, buyer engagement. And one thing's for sure, if you have the home styled and looking good, the engagement with, you know, potential customers is increased, you know, dramatically. So that's just a little tip there.
Marshall, if I may,
Yes,
getting a stylist, particularly for a sale, what sort of figures are you talking about in that?
Well, there's two ways of going about it. You know, I think if you're definitely selling and you're getting a stylist in, I would recommend getting someone that actually can bring in staged furniture if required. By way of example, I've just styled a home for a client that we're selling. We're selling their mum's townhouse, and it's a beautiful townhouse in Marriott Street, and nice single level. Not that I'm pushing any sales here.
Yes, yeah.
But we styled that, and it costs about $3,000 for the whole home.
And I'll easily recoup that in the sale. Is that?
Oh, I think so. I think so. We took everything out and we touched up the paintwork, gave it a good clean, a good zhuzh up, put in the furniture, and it looks bigger and fresher, and it looks good. So styling, depending on the size of the home, can be around $3,000, could be $4,000. If you want to get in a stylist, I think an hourly rate, give or take, between $50 and $100 an hour is fair and reasonable.
Right. Great. Thanks.
So when is the right time to downsize? I think we touched on this the other day, Ronnie. I think, look, you know what? I think you'll know yourself, and I think today is it's a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily right to downsize all the time. Sometimes I think the house you've got is great, and you should just stay there and just do it up to make it comfortable. Because when you look at it, the cost to buy a new home and to sell your home is it's quite expensive, because so I think if you're considering downsizing, I think one of the questions you need to ask yourself is why do you want to downsize? Is it because your home's just way too big, it doesn't feel safe for you, or you are downsizing because it'd be nice to release some equity from your home so you've got some funding for lifestyle to enjoy yourself? So they're the two things that you really need to think of. And then, so you need to know, you need to be aware of what it's going to cost you to sell your home and to buy a new home. So, but by way of example, to buy a new home, the stamp duty is about 5%. So if you're looking at spending, say, $1 million, well, there's $50,000. And if you're selling a home for, give or take $1 million, the selling cost, by the time you stage it, if you're going to stage it, present it, and so on, you're looking at, give or take, $30,000, $40,000. So, the ins and outs can be quite expensive. So for argument's sake, if you said, it's $100,000, well, maybe you're better off staying where you are and, doing your home up to to give yourself a fresher feel. Does that make sense, Ronnie?
Yeah, it certainly does. Can I get us in a stylist today and live in my home, and then do I have to get a stylist in again in a decade's time if I want to sell?
I think it's what, I think that's a good idea, because you look at clothing, flares and so on, the flares of the 70s and 80s.
Yes, remember them well. Yes.
I think, even in 2-3 years, I remember my bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Straight leg pants and, a nice tie and everything. My brother's bar mitzvah, 2-3 years later, we were wearing blue flares. I had long hair. Yeah. And I was like, what's going on here? So the styles do change. So I think it's worthwhile. I think that's part of living, I think.
Got it.
So is that helpful? And
yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm happy to field any questions. Or
I noticed Charlotte has been writing a bit when you mentioned about getting someone in if you can't manage it yourself and you take back the thing to Bunnings, she suggested getting an air tasker. Any comments?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I just saw the group chat there. Sorry,
yeah.
Charlotte. Yeah.
So Charlotte suggested air tasker. Any comments or any concerns about getting someone from air tasker?
I've never used them, so I can't really say firsthand. There are, if you want, it depends whether you want short-term or longer-term storage. There is a company, and you see their boxes around the area. What's the yellow boxes? What are they?
Yeah. Like the taxi boxes or
taxi boxes. Yeah. I have a few clients that use those, and they're quite good for short-term storage. So I think it's good. Like you said you've got your notes and stuff from Scopus, right? I think you should keep them. I mean, You know what? I'll tell you why, because I've got notes from when I was studying.
Yes.
And I don't have them anymore. And every now and again, I think, you must have them. So maybe it's worthwhile boxing up, storing them, and put them in storage somewhere.
Yeah. I've still got Josh Frydenberg's science project. I might be able to sell it on the market for
That was sensible that you
pick up a few dollars. He didn't do that well in maths, though. No, I'm just joking.
But now, Charlotte's put another question here. What percentage of your estimated selling reserve would you suggest to invest in getting the house right? Good question. Good question. Well, I guess it, begs another question. What condition is the home in? So if the home has been looked after and it's just, it might need a new paint, and if it's, say, a $2 million home, give or take, I think realistically to get it up to presentation, if you can, I would probably allocate, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, depending on, what needs to be done. If it's been painted and looked after over time, then perhaps, it just needs to be restyled. But, if it needs to be completely painted, we just painted a townhouse for clients that we're selling, one in Marriott Street. And we didn't do a complete paint. We just did, an internal paint and some of the timber work. And it was about $10,000, $11,000, which was pretty reasonable, I thought. But, to do like a large family home, I don't think there'd be much change out of $25,000, $30,000 out of painted correctly. And then you've got carpet and so on. So, So as a percentage, maybe, what's that about, 2 or 3%, something like that, I think, I think if you allocated 2%, I think that would give you a good buffer.
Yeah. Now, people can unmute themselves if you like, and if you'd like to ask a question directly of Marshall while we've got this unique opportunity. So if anyone has any further questions, raise your hand or unmute yourself. Otherwise, we'll move on. Going, all silent. Hang on, Charlotte.
Little chat here.
Yes.
Who have we got? Charlotte again?
Yes.
Yeah, the old sugar soap. Yeah.
Yes. Silly's sugar soap. You can buy it in the supermarket, I believe.
Yeah.
And it does clean a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly a good one. Yes. So there's a promo for Shelley's. By the way, today's event is brought to you by Shelley's. So thank you very much, Marshall. It has been fascinating. I didn't expect any Sally's. Sorry, I did mean say thank you, Charlotte. I actually meant Sally's, not Shelley's. But I was thinking of seashells. She sells seashells. But thank you very much, Marshall. I was expecting it to be fascinating, and indeed it was, and very useful. It certainly prompted me to spend a bit more time on this coming Sunday, tidying up a bit more. My wife, as I said, Evie's been getting me to move stuff out onto the street and so on. Of course, all that has to be negotiated with your council. Don't just put stuff out there, because otherwise you might find you're getting a fine. So make sure you book a hard pickup if you need to. And my recycle bin, by the way, Marshall, is full but within a couple of days of having been collected.
Good.
So yeah, certainly getting through a lot of stuff, and the place does look better and low cost. And but we do need a good paint and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Marshall, thank you very, very much. I hope things go well for you. I know the things have been quiet for probably about 6 months. You're not being able to open up, probably no stock, but certainly not being able to show places around, and that's only just opened up in the last couple of weeks, I believe.
That's true. Yeah, it was very quiet. We went for 2-3 months without being able to show a buyer through a property. So, we're fortunate now that we can, and the market's actually pretty hot. Fueled, of course, because of the demand and the lack of availability for buyers. But buyers are out in force, and the prices are holding up pretty well, and the market seems to be quite strong at the moment. Yeah.
Well, thank you very, very much, Marshall. It's been wonderful and very informative. Really appreciate you taking out the time of your busy schedule, particularly now that things are heating up.
Anytime. It's so great to be invited, and so nice to see everyone. So thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And before you all go, I invite you to log on again next week, same time. And the password, I apologize, appears that on our web, on the Facebook page, they put wrong password, which is why quite a few people couldn't get in. The password is St Kilda, but the same number and password next week. Next week, we're going to be speaking about finding the best deals online. Graham Cook is the International Insights Manager for Finder.com. You've seen them advertised on TV. They will do comparisons of pretty almost anything, insurance and bargains and savings accounts and so on. So Graham Cook will spend half an hour with us telling us about how to find the best deals online. And the following week, it'll be a 1 hour special. That one will be talking about cybersecurity. Could you be the next victim? And that will be, again, 11 o'clock, but that will go for 1 hour. That's in 2 weeks' time. And then we've got Theo Anton, who's an information security manager at Commonwealth Bank. And he'll be sharing with us some of the things that we could fall in, some of the traps we could fall into and possibly have. The scammers cost our Australian community probably several $1 billion a year. So the next ones coming up are very important to watch out for. If you're also interested, just to share with you, the 29th of November, Haftet B'November, as it's known in Hebrew, is a significant date because it's the date in 1947 where Israel was approved at the United Nations. And to commemorate that special occasion, we're going crossing live to Israel. That's a Sunday night, crossing live to Israel together with ZDVO, the Zionist Disabled Veterans Organisation, previously known as Bet HaLachem. And we've got 2 disabled veterans who we're going to interview live 8 p.m. that Sunday night. Worthwhile staying with us. If you're not getting our newsletter, make sure you type in. I think everyone at the moment on the list is getting our newsletter. If you're not getting our newsletter, just type in your email address. But otherwise, stay in touch. Thank you very much again, Marshall. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Stay out of the heat, and may all your news be good news. Thanks very much.
Here we are.